What is going on, people, Bears fans? What's happening? I got to y'all a little bit late. Your boy even need to shave. It's all right, though. We still talking Bears. I want to kind of touch base every day if possible. Uh, there's always something going on in the league. There's always something going on overall. There's always something going on with the Chicago Bears, especially after, even 2 days after. The Bears solidified a 4-game winning streak, moving to 4-2 after that 26-14 victory over the New Orleans Saints. But in this video, before we get into it, though, I want to ask you guys, please, if you have not yet liked the video, please do so. If you have not yet subscribed, please do that as well. But what I want to talk about in this video is this upcoming trade deadline. And in my opinion, where we need to go as a squad right now. Like there's some stuff that I've been saying, which I still, feel that way. Pass rush is 100% a focus that we need to have. But beyond that, or in addition to that, at this point, the Bears need to start thinking about something I talked about a little bit earlier in the season, which is getting some help at corner. We've been beat up at corner pretty much all year. I don't know, what was it, the first 4 games? The first 4 games without Kyler Gordon at all. Most of the season, with the exception of probably a half, we didn't have Jaylon Johnson. And Jaylon Johnson, got hurt in the Detroit games, out for most of the season. We'll see what happens. But now, in the victory over the Saints, Tyrique Stevenson hurt his shoulder. We haven't yet gotten an idea or a good indication of how bad the injury is, so we don't know if and when he'll be back this season. It didn't appear, and I'm not a doctor, but it did not appear, and we haven't gotten any indication to say this, but it did not appear that it's like a season-ending thing, but it definitely seems like he could miss some time. As of right now, the trade deadline is exactly 2 weeks away. It's on November 4th. Bears, if they're going to make a deal, they're going to make a move, they need to do it by that time. So there's not a lot of people who, I've been, like I told you guys before, I've been a journalist for almost 20 years at this point, for a couple of different publications, right? For Forbes, for Athlon, for Heavy, for Bleacher Report. So I kind of know how to sift through different people kind of just talking, just what I would call chatter, not really anything you can sink your teeth into when it comes to actual trade news and real trade rumors. But one person I do respect, who covers the Bears. He actually covers the Bears, I believe, for Sports Mockery. So it's not one of the biggest publications, but his name is Eric Lambert. And I feel like he's always really level-headed, does his research, and he knows what he's talking about. So, and when he starts talking about a trade or people who could be, should be, Bears fans should be looking at as a potential player that Bears could go after, I think it's at least worth the conversation, right? So he had a post earlier today, and he was actually responding to a question. Someone asked him, he said, "Do you think that the Bears will make a move? I see reports of Crosby could be on the move, and what are the 4 names to watch?" So there was a rumor earlier today about Max Crosby potentially being on the trade block, but it seems that the Raiders have already pretty much stomped that out. There was a report, I think it was from Tom Pelissero of NFL.com. The Raiders had a meeting with Max Crosby today to assure him that they're not trading him, that he's not on the block, what have you. Teams lie, we don't know, all this different thing happens, but I would kind of be surprised if Max Crosby got traded unless he comes to the Raiders and says he wants to be traded. I strongly doubt that he'll do that. Max Crosby has overcome a lot in his life to get to where he is, and messing around with the stability of his foundation, I don't know if that's something he'll want to do. He's doing great in every way, professionally, personally, it seems like, with the Raiders. I don't think he'll want to leave. We'll see what the Raiders do. That would be crazy, but I'm going to tell you this. If the Bears or anybody else have any hopes of trying to lure Max Crosby, you're going to have to come with multiple first-round picks I don't know if that's something that the Bears would want to do. Max Crosby is 100% one of the best defensive ends, one of the best defensive players in the NFL. I don't know if you want to give up 2 first-round picks where we are in our current move up the ladder, right? But getting back to Eric Lambert, he actually mentioned 4 names that I thought made more sense than some of the other names that we've seen thrown out there. I hope we don't have to hear anybody else talk about trading for a running back anymore. I called that out as crazy a long time ago, so I'm hoping that all that conversation is over with. But Eric Lambert talked about Jermaine Johnson, who is currently he's a defensive end linebacker for the New York Jets, and he honestly, it feels like when the system switched for him and a few other defensive players for the Jets, things changed, and now there's a little bit of a struggle here. But 6'5", 254 pounds. He's only 26 years old, out of Florida State. He was a first-round pick, number 26 overall in 2022. So far this year, Johnson is played in 4 games. He has 1 sack, 15 tackles. But if you go back to his first 2 years in the league, 2.5 sacks, 7.5 sacks. I think he could be an edge player for the Bears in their system. I do think he's maybe not quite as big from a mass standpoint as Dennis Allen sometimes likes the bigger defensive ends. He can kind of move around, move them inside and outside. Jermaine seems like he'd be a guy that's purely playing outside, but if he can help get some pressure on his passer, we'd love to see it, right? So I thought that was an interesting one, right? Eric Lambert also talked about Jalen Phillips, who is currently playing for the Dolphins. He's also 26 years old, around the same size, a little bit bigger, 6'5", 263. He similarly had strong pass rush numbers in his first 2 or 3 seasons, 8.5 sacks as a rookie, 7 sacks in his second year, 6.5 sacks in his third year. The last 2 years, 2024 is kind of a wash. He only played 4 games, had 1 sack. So far this year, 7 games played. He's got 2 sacks already. I like him. I like his motor. I like his ability to consistently get to the passer. I think that would make me extremely happy. I appreciate you, Bears Capo. I see your comments all the time. I definitely appreciate you so much as we are rebuilding this channel. So everybody that pops through, I really appreciate. Also on air from Eric Lambert, Tariq Woolen. Now, Tariq Woolen this is what we're talking about with that secondary, right? If you look at Tariq Woolen from a physical standpoint, it's very similar to what we were hoping to get with Zay Frazier, right? Similar physically. Tariq Woolen is 6'4", 210 pounds, really big corner. He's kind of seemingly fell in and out of favor with Seattle. They also have one of their top corners is coming back from injury. When that happens, there's some talk that Tariq Woolen could go back to the bench. Maybe Seattle, who is 5-2 and looking really good. Their defense looks crazy on Monday night. They're looking really good. Maybe they think Woolen is expendable. The Bears throw a 3rd or 4th round pick their way. Maybe they go for that. But Woolen rookie year, man, he had 6 interceptions. Now, it has dipped since. Not too bad, though. Second year, 2 picks. Last year, 3 picks. He doesn't have any yet in 6 games so far. But he also is 26 years old. And if you're noticing who Lambert is calling out the Bears as calling out as a potential player that the Bears could be interested in, they're all right there in that same age range, right? I definitely, this is the right age range for where this team is. 25 to 27. That's pretty much what they were trying to do with Dio, but it hasn't worked out. He hasn't gotten pressure on the quarterback at all. Me and him have about the same amount of QB hits this year. So that's telling you something. Lastly, on his list of who he mentioned was Will McDonald IV, also 26 years old. He's another New York Jet. Now, the Jets are terrible right now, y'all. I think they are, without a question, the worst team in the NFL. The record would support that, as they are sitting here after a 13-6 loss to the Carolina Panthers 0-7, 0-5 at the crib. That is tough. To be 0-7 in 5 of those games at home is really, really bad. But Will McDonald has shown the ability to get to the passer. 10.5 sacks last year, 3 sacks as a rookie. He's got 2 sacks already this year. You got to think maybe the Jets are willing to come off of one of these young pass rushers if they can get themselves in position to maybe stockpile some things, so they can maybe stockpile some draft picks, so maybe they have the chance to move up higher in the first round and get another shot at getting a quarterback. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing. This team is in shambles. They thought they had their quarterback, of course, with Zach Wilson. That didn't work out. It's a team that's in shambles, and that is the type of team you go and look at to see, can we pick the bones a bit, you know? And if anybody's wondering where Zach Wilson is, he's backing up Tua Tagovailoa in Miami. So that's my focus for the Bears, right? My focus is pass rush and corner in the trade market. If they can pull that off and get somebody to come in to actually make an impact, I'm not saying you need to go find Julius Peppers. I'm not saying you need to go find Deion Sanders. But at corner, they need depth. And they need somebody who is a professional corner, who is not going to be a liability, but can offer some stability while we wait for Tyreek to come back, while we hopefully wait for Jaylon Johnson to come back. Because if you look at the way the defense is playing right now, imagine it with a healthy Tyreek, a healthy Jaylon Johnson. Kyler Gordon seemed to be rounding into form. If you add someone like Tariq Woolen, you have even more of a rotation there going. The secondary will be set barring some other sort of injury. Pass rush is a whole different story. You probably need 2 guys to come in there, but that's probably not realistic. Hopefully, at some point, Austin Booker will make his debut. We thought it was going to happen on Sunday. It didn't. But at some point in time, somebody's got to help so that Dennis Allen doesn't have to continue to get creative, sending blitzers off the edge, all of that. You know, I really think that, I love the thought of Jermaine Johnson. Jermaine Johnson, honestly, I kind of like Will McDonald concept a little bit more than Jermaine Johnson, but at this point, I'd take either one because neither one of those guys can be a downgrade from what we've seen so far with the Bears front four. And I'm not trashing Gervon Dexter or Montez Sweat. I'm a little bit trashing Dio, I'm not going to lie. But the other guys are kind of who we thought they were. Dio was the guy that was paid to come and be something different, and he hasn't been. So that's a little bit of a smack. So I wasn't going to be before you guys long today. I just wanted to pop in, make sure that I did touch base, talk about what we talked about, what we saw so far today. Later in the week, though, we're going to talk about Lamar Jackson's health. Is he going to play or not? That's huge for what's going to happen on Sunday. Also, we'll be revisiting or talking about the first look at the injury report on tomorrow when we find out our first thing we can learn about Jaylon Johnson, Cole Kmet, and everybody else that's on the injury report. Cairo Santos, is this going to be another Josh Moody week? We don't know. We'll find out more tomorrow, but I appreciate you guys watching as always. God bless you and peace.